In this month's update, we will be looking at quality of life enhancements in visual analytics, 4 new steps in SAS Studio, and we will learn how to build our own custom trees in SAS Intelligent Decisioning. Let's go! We have 2 awesome new quality of life enhancements inside of Visual Analytics. We can find them when we go to new data item, calculated item, and here we have 2 things. The first is you can now directly create new parameters from this dialog. You don't have to go back out and first create the parameter. So that's great if you sometimes are a bit forgetful like me. And second, you can now filter through operators, functions, and data when you click on the dialog. And for example, you want to use the upcase, you just type it and you quickly get to the concrete dialog that helps you in your use case. Really awesome if you're building a lot of these custom data items within Visual Analytics. Let's cancel this and let us jump over to SAS Studio, where we will be finding 4 new awesome steps that we can play with. I have already dragged them into a flow, but of course you can find them in the SAS Steps pane under the appropriate categories. The first 2 are the abilities to have 2 additional chart or plot types. First one being the box plot, second the line chart. These are of course located in the visualized data category. Next up we have the distribution analysis, which we can find in the statistics category. And then finally we have the select random sample step, which we can find in the transform data category. Let's run this flow and see what output it generates for us. The first 3 are of course generating ODS output for us. So let's go over there and let's go back up the top. We see our box plot, we see our line chart, and then we see our distribution analysis down below. Of course, there are many more options to optimize them and fit to your use case. And then finally, we can go to output data, where we see our 10 randomly selected rows. Of course, again, here you can also handle how these should be selected for you. Great new additions and enabling us to have a wider use set of pre-built steps. Now we are moving over to SAS Intelligent Decisioning, where we have now the ability to create segmentation trees of our very own. You can think of these almost like decision trees, but you get to build them on your own and completely customize how output should be treated, for example. So on our left-hand menu, when we open this up, you can see under the decision elements, we have a new item in here, segmentation trees. And also you find value lists in the global elements category. We will touch on these later. Let's first go to our segmentation trees. And of course you get a list of all the available segmentation trees within your system, but let us create a new one. We are just going to leave the default name and say save. In here, you can now use different elements within the tree to generate the branching rules that will in the end lead to leaves, which actually decide the outcome of your step. So we can have Boolean expression, we can have matrices, and of course you can assign your variables in here. Let's first go ahead and add variables to our segmentation tree like we do with any other decision element. So we are going to use a data table to give us the initial items we want to use. So let's quickly go into the search. We will search for HMEQ. Let me actually select it. Okay. And now we can decide which items we want. I'm just going to select them all and say add. Now, again, like in any other decision element, you can configure the input output, you can specify initial values, and you can even associate value lists in here. Let's get back to our segmentation tree. And in here, you can now see we have our 13 variables, and we can, of course, drag them into the right. And it tells us it needs a value list for us to have an actual workable element. You can't split on just a variable, of course. So that would be when you actually want to split on different values, you can easily do this through value lists with their association to variables, or you can do this through matrices. Same exact principle. And of course, we can create new Boolean expressions within our tree. We give them a name. So let's say is true. And now we get into the editor of the expression editor of SAS Intelligent Decisioning, where we can add our variables and can make use of our different functions. So for me, I'm going to use the upcase function. Filtering it down here shows us the little drop-down menu. We can double click it to add it to our editor, and we can now use our expression to override it with our actual, with our actual variable name. And let's make this to be equal to example. And now we can verify our syntax. Just to sanity check this, we get expression is valid and hit save. And now we can add our Boolean expression to our actual tree. And here you can see how our tree starts forming up in here. And finally, we need to assign an outcome. Let's go to add on the right-hand side and say outcome. Here we can either select already created outcomes or we can create a new one. So let's do this. And we are going to say true for our true output. We can add a description where you can add assignments or add code files to it. We are going to add an assignment and we are going to say bad should be 1 in this case and add true. And now we can go and add a second outcome. Again, here, just to make it easier, I'm just going to select the already created one that we already have. So now we have our segmentation tree. We can, of course, integrate this into full-on decisions. You can do scoring tests within here. So everything you know from other elements can also be done in this interface. If you want to dive deeper on segmentation trees, I really recommend the SAS documentation about it. It goes into detail about everything which I just scratched the bare surface of. Let's take a look at new custom steps that are available this month. First up, we have one to help us generate airflow DAGs. That's really awesome if you are already using that scheduler in combination with SAS Studio. We also have the ability to run R code with the R runner custom step. This is great if you want to integrate small R scripts within your code, really helpful. And finally, we have a step to get exchange rates for you, so you can easily convert currencies between a base currency and whatever you get into your operation. Continuing on the theme of Airflow, there is a great blog article around using Apache Airflow to help you with your SAS Viya administration tasks. We also see a cool example of how you can easily scale CAS on the fly using a new method introduced in our infrastructure as code example. And finally, there's a cool article that I recommend you read on increasing your confidence when matching data, all about finding that golden record that you can actually build your company on top of. I hope you gained a lot of insights around how you can make use of those general enhancements in VA, how the new 4 steps that were made available in SAS Studio enhance your life, and how you can plant your own trees with SAS Intelligent Decisioning. See you next month. Bye bye.